Let's bring the F&A committee together. I assume somebody's gonna do some promotions here to panel. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and get started. Got the agenda. We can just,
I can't help you because I'm not a.
I have it. All right, so please note attendance by the council members, staff, and administration. Let's go ahead and on to approval of the agenda. Are there any alterations or comments in regards to the agenda? Hearing none, unless there are objections, we will move forward with the agenda as presented. No objections, we'll move forward. Let's open the floor up to public comments. Are there any members of the public in attendance or online wishing to make comment before the committee?
None online.
None online, all right. Seeing none, raise their hands in the conference room. We'll go ahead and close public comment and move on to the rest of the agenda. With that, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes dated February 21, 2024. Are there any comments or revisions in regards to the minutes? Nope. Are there any objections to accepting the minutes as presented? With that, we'll go ahead and accept the minutes as presented. I'll move on to warrants and claims, consideration and claims approval report dated March 11th, 2024. Chair will note, I received no questions in email or otherwise in regards to these, and I have no questions or comments. You guys, we're good? All right. Any objections to accepting the claims as presented? With that, we'll go ahead and accept the claims report and move on to the rest of the agenda. With that, we have Agenda Bill 24035, Human Services Advisory Committee Funding Update. Who's here to talk that?
Are you looking at the right agenda?
Oh, am I looking at the wrong agenda?
Oh, yeah, I don't think you're, yeah.
Oh, no, I got the wrong agenda. Sorry.
So the next.
Hang on, I was like 2 weeks late.
Right.
All right, let's have solid waste contract discussion. I went really fast on the other one. Oh, we're gonna slow down now. Oh.
Evening. You might remember that, or last time I was here, I gave a brief presentation. Solid waste contract is essentially due at the end of this month. We are having a open discussion about it next week at council. So just kind of reiterating, read it. Any comments you want, speak now or forever hold your peace, essentially. Next month, that is. If you have any questions tonight, I'm more than happy to answer them, or you can just send me an email or give me a call at any point. Or if you have any topics or discussions that you want to make sure get brought up, also happy to just take note of them so that you don't have to keep it in the back of your memory.
That's the one my wife wants to make that use of now. There was the one large item per year per household. Did we get any metrics of how often is that used, and if it comes in or goes out, what might it be worth?
So our current system, they have to charge for it. And so it's kind of a different set, or I can get you that number. I had it last time I was here.
Oh, I thought it was one free per year.
That could be an item that we add to the new contract. I put that in there just like, hey, just something to think about. You know, these are the kinds of items that we could in the new contract. But the last contract was not free.
Okay.
Yep. And it wasn't, as of in 2023, the amount of items, bulky items that got taken out was in the realm of like 20-ish.
Yeah,
It
mainly
wasn't,
because people don't know about it, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's an item that, you know, if we wanted to bring it up for discussion next week, and council members can decide if, hey, yeah, we think we should add, or at least get cost estimates for what it would cost to add one free one per year. We can do that, or we can just keep it at the way it is.
Keep the way it is.
Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? And said, please look at that. If you got any questions, get them to him. So when we do have council discussion, he's pre-armed with answers.
That's it.
Good. Well, with that, let's move on to ordinance amending SMC regarding commission and committee. I'm ERP project status update. Sorry. that I can read that is good, but
All right, so I would love to share my screen if possible. Okay, thank you. All right, so good evening, council. Thank you for having me here today. Drew Boutte, Finance Director for the city overall. So yes, tonight prepared to give you an ERP project status update. So the question is, what has changed in terms of resources? Well, fortunately, the limited term management analyst that we hired to replace Krista Hintz, who left on January 31st, has chosen not to join the city. It was a 10-month term limited potential position. Unfortunately, Chris decided not to come because he got cold feet for the most part and didn't want to leave something that was guaranteed for something that may not necessarily be guaranteed after 10 months. Often I like to just make sure that we all know that where are we going. I've brought this up repeatedly. It's a new year for new processes overall. That is certainly what our intention is within the finance department moving forward. And the goal, once again, is to complete all 4 phases by the end of the year. A question you may have is where are we currently right now, especially over the past month? Well, to start off with, in terms of the financials, phase 1, the finance department is working to decentralize and provide end user training for accounts payable, general billing, and analytics and reporting. Yesterday, actually, I certainly benefited from the training that I had, a full half-day session with an implementation consultant to figure out how to set up the appropriate business rules and workflows to enact our desired processes. So that was more for my benefit, necessarily for anyone else itself, but that will help me within the security system to be able to set up everything appropriately so we can actually start training end users once I can get to that stage. So in terms of what does a draft decentralized accounts payable process looks like, really involves the departments a lot more heavily in terms of processing their own invoices or getting them into the system. Once they're able to kind of get it into the system and get the manager to approve those invoices, it will actually flow to our accounts payable clerk for their review itself, and then to accounting as well for their review too, before we cut any sort of check that would get sent out to the vendors. Mostly, a lot of what you see in pink right here would actually be handled by that accounts payable clerk. And now that it's decentralized or moving out to the departments to make sure that they're inputting their invoices on their own accord and that they're capturing everything that does need to get into the system itself. As well as that, we're also proposing a draft decentralized general billing process. This is in essence, the department's actually creating their own invoices to submit to people that purchase services from the city overall. And so consequently, we want to set them up for success. The revenue manager that we have behind us, Tammy Wood, certainly be responsible for making sure that they're appropriately drafted before they actually are outputted for the most part. Once that process is complete and we've got our review in there, we'll be up to the department to print those invoices and actually email them to the customers. So probably some other trainings before I kind of move on a little bit is we've had some bank reconciliation manager training. In essence, we need to make sure that the amount of money that we're holding within our bank is actually equal to what's recorded within our financial records. That is absolutely critical and a very important piece. So we're lucky that Kyla was able to get some training regarding that. And then in addition to that, making sure that we're closing out the months appropriately before moving on to the next one. And so she received basically about 2 days worth of training, one for each subject that you see here. Just past that. So the next phase and the phase that we're pretty much working through right now, phase 2, human capital management, which is really involves both HR as well as the payroll system itself. We'd like to at least announce to council here that due to some personnel changes within the finance department, implementation of this phase has been moved to the budget team. And as a result, the go live date has been postponed to a future date. So Jana Walker back there is now leading the charge when it comes to actually implementing the payroll system. In addition to that, we have swapped in a different financial specialist, L3, to serve as the payroll specialist for the city moving forward. The person that used to be in that slot will now handle AP at this stage. As a result of this, we're lucky enough to bring on actually an implementation consultant who is here for about 3 days this week on site to support really the growth of this new team that needs to actually learn the system and work to configure the system moving forward. I call it baptism by fire for the most part, and that's what they're doing is they're kind of getting a massive drenching or a soaking of all this information that he's able to provide to us. In addition to that, he's also going to be working with the HR team as well to support them during this 3-day period for the most part. And then in addition to that, into the future, we hope to bring him back more often as well to kind of support the ongoing work regarding that. The goal is to really get human capital management, really the payroll system up and running in Tyler as soon as we possibly can. As soon as we can. And so that is the consequence of what we're trying to accomplish here in terms of all these personnel changes, while also maybe adapting how Tyler works with us into the future. So with that said, that's a huge development when it comes to this phase, and we're looking forward to the progress that we're going to make in the future.
So what was the prior date?
Prior date was the first payroll period in April, so roughly around April the 17th through the 19th, we would have been going live in terms of processing payroll in Tyler.
So, and what's the future date, or what's the date at which you'll know the future date?
The date in which I'm going to know the future date.
It's called a plan for a plan. Yeah.
So we're approaching some of the stuff we discussed in closed session,
Mhm.
and until that process is complete, I don't think we can give you a honest date. I think as soon as that process plays out, then we can provide that information, but we're guessing if we try tonight.
So in addition to that, staff are still engaged in a 6-step configuration audit to ensure that every payroll table and program is updated and accurate. A lot of what Jan has been working on is actually looking through that today with that implementation consultant. We notified council that we were through step 2 previously. We're actually going to be looking back a little bit further to make sure that everything is correct and up to date within the system. And so they're going to be actually starting back at step 1 and following through with that moving forward. But obviously something that we don't like to necessarily, it's not great information necessarily to have to go back, but it is something that we have to do to make sure that we're absolutely accurate in terms of moving forward when it comes to payroll. Phase 3, so we haven't really engaged in phase 3. I think Tammy may have had some conversations previously with a potential implementation consultant, but they haven't quite assigned us anyone yet when it comes to utility billing at this stage, and Tyler is still kind of looking for one as far as I'm concerned. When it comes to phase 4, so Brendan and his team, Brendan, who's the GIS analyst, is pretty much project managing this aspect, the enterprise asset management phase for Parks and Public Works. They're well on their way. Recently, they've compiled the majority of activity codes for all divisions and have uploaded some into the testing environment. And right now they're working to create inspections and checklists for certain activity codes. Brendan, as I said, is the GIS analyst, which is why he's really critical to this. The goal is really to connect our GIS system to Munis. Imagine going out into the field and having the ability to actually locate the asset that you're working on and create the work order there and things like that. Certainly be a huge improvement overall to how the city handles that kind of work in the future. But right now it is a bit of a challenge and may require setting up a web server that can be used as a connection point between really our internal software and external systems. And there may be a possible need to upgrade to the GIS enterprise solution in the future. Now, obviously, we would focus on what our SaaS fees are currently right now in terms of what we're paying in subscription and see if we can kind of manage that potential need within what we're currently spending. Because there may be in some cases where products that we don't quite need, where we could trade off for something that may be more critical overall to what we do in the future. In addition to that, they've been exploring the value of adding the citizen reporting application 311 and an API toolkit that would allow the city to link the fleet's RTA system. So that's our fleet management system overall to Tyler as well, so that there's multiple lines of really connection between the different software systems that we have. And right now, the projected go live date when it comes to this is September the 30th. So they've been making some massive strides when it comes to that. And they're, I'd hate to admit it, but they're probably going to beat the finance department. So. Don't tell them that though. So that's pretty much it for the update. So any questions? Happy to answer that. Any questions you may have.
at least the equipment one shows, and I think you've partially done the right thing, the effect of having a project champion. And I think he was project champion on the asset management one, and now you've moved it out to the different departments, so you've got assigned personnel in each of those departments to actually act as that champion. So yeah. That's good stuff.
Thank you.
And make sure I'm looking at the right F and N.
Sorry,
Yep,
here
we
it
are.
comes.
All right, so that's ERP, council open house, town hall discussion. So I talked with our consultant just this afternoon. He finally got a hold of me, my problem. And I'll have a discussion with him tomorrow afternoon, but we'll confirm agenda. The agenda is pretty cut. We'll have some get to know you, and then we'll go into council goals and objectives and have those discussions from there. So I may have more after I talk with Andrew tomorrow, but that's kind of where we're at this stage.
Any further thoughts on dates?
Hmm?
Any further thoughts on dates, or did you discuss your right back there?
Let's have that discussion in council at our next meeting. Thanks for reminding. All right, with that, let's upcoming agenda items informational only. Are there other items for discussion tonight, or I could have let Mr. Benson go for a little while longer for the entertainment? All right, any objections to adjourning tonight?
Wait.
Oh,
Yeah, then we have to, yeah, the agenda for.
oh.
Two-page one.
Yeah, it's throwing in the, yeah, good catch. Thank you. Got ahead of myself. All right, let's look at the council agenda for next week. And it's this stage. We're gonna have a round table at 6, talk the comprehensive plan, transportation element and capital facilities. Utilities element. Is that really expected to take a full hour?
Well, we only got through 3 items on the transportation element the last time.
All right.
I have asked Emily to talk a little quicker.
Okay. All right,
Practice today.
so we'll have a roundtable at 6 PM and adjourn from there, going to regular council at 7 PM.
Yeah, I just want to say that personally, I thought that that was a really fruitful discussion though. So it is going slow to some degree, but
Takes what it takes.
yeah, I think we're doing a good job by taking that pace.
Understand.
And I think it was better we finally got into to lead us through the discussion versus what do you think?
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll continue that in the next discussion. All right, pledge, agenda approval, public hearings, appointments, we'll have oath of offices for police captain Gary. How do you say that last name? Somebody's gotta help me out here.
I'll see.
Hooray, see, okay.
I thought his last name was Gary and his first name was Captain.
Makes it easier.
Will Mayor Ross be back next
Yes.
Monday? Okay, good. You can. And then we'll also have a badge pinning for Sergeant Chase Smith. Reappointment of Civil Service Commission. We'll have Sound Cities presentation from Issaquah Mayor Polly. And we're gonna have a state of the cities video. How long is the video? Huh? Are we thinking we're gonna have any executive sessions or anything?
Yes.
Wow. All right. I assume we could, all right,
Not long ones, so just
Huh?
updates. Just updates.
okay. All right, any proclamation needed, I would recommend the agenda just so far that we could try to limit additional to the agenda outside of what we do here. Approval of minutes, approval of claims, we'll get into public safety, community development center, traffic impact fee program development,
Came off today.
that one. Really? Okay,
It's not ready.
okay, that one comes off. And then we'll have water reclamation facility effluent mixing zone study. And Snoqualmie Valley Mobility Coalition draft resolution and presentation. Can we strike end presentation off there?
Yes.
We won't have the presentation, but we'll at least have a brief discussion about what it is. And solid waste contract discussion, how long we expecting he left? Okay. Again, please, if we can shorten it, get them questions up front. Go ahead, Casper.
That was gonna be my comment, is just maybe a quick reminder to council to respond back with any questions, comments.
I'll ask Patrick to send an email out to the council tomorrow.
Thank you.
No.
All right, and we'll get F&A Committee of the Whole, Council Open House Town Hall discussion. We could have this or we could hold off on that one at this stage. Let's get through the retreat and then we get back into that discussion. If that's okay, if any objections, I recommend at this stage, just take it off this council, have the next council after. I'm trying to save time for whatever executive sessions we may have. Mayor's report, committee liaison reports, council regional liaison reports, potential closed session pursuant and potential executive session. Any other,
Just executive, no closed.
got a week. Leave the placeholder on.
That closed is gonna take 3 weeks, so it'll be at the next one.
All right, any other comments or revisions? Any objections to the agenda as discussed? All right, let's move forward with it. With that, I think I am now at the end of the agenda. All right, any objections to adjournment?
Nope.
All right, I'm hearing no objections. We will be adjourned. Thank you all.